Welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and that bell notification so you can be notified when new videos drop. My name is Solange, and this is Plate It Plant-Based. Today we are making a South American dish. This dish comes from Peru. It's called a Lomo Saltado. We are actually making three dishes. We're making a Lomo Saltado, a Ceviche Mixto, and a Aji Verde, which is a traditional green sauce. Essentially, you can put it on top of your Lomo Saltado. You can really put it on top of anything. Lomo Saltado is actually one of my favorite dishes growing up. When I became plant-based, it was definitely one of those dishes I had to figure out how to recreate. What is Lomo Saltado? Lomo Saltado is steak or beef of some sort. Typically, they use top sirloin for this. Saltado means like tossed. It's essentially a stir fry of beef, onions, tomatoes, and French fries. Yes. French fries, my favorite part to this. We are going to make this our way, our plant-based way. So we're gonna use some Portobello mushrooms as our beef option. You could also make this with any of the plant-based meats. Gardenia, I think it is, that makes a pretty good plant-based option if you want to use that as like your steak option. But we're gonna use portobello mushrooms. We're gonna use some red bell peppers, and one of the key ingredients in a Lomo Saltado is the Aji Amarillo, which is like a yellow chili pepper. They make a Aji Amarillo paste, so that's what we're gonna be using here. You can find this at any Latin food stores like Vallarta or any of those. It is all served with rice. So we're gonna make a little bit of white rice to go along with our Lomo Saltado. For our ceviche, we are making a ceviche mixto. We're gonna use hearts of palm, a little bit of mayo, Aji Amarillo, our sweet potatoes. These have been boiled. I just cut them up, threw them in some water, and boiled them till they're fork tender. Garlic cloves, sugar, salt, pepper, red onions, and some cucumbers that I got from my local produce delivery service, Homeside Fresh, and some jalapenos that I also got from them this week. We're gonna add choclo, which is basically hominy, to our ceviche, as well as, they're almost like cord nuts. They're like the hominy, but dry. We're gonna toss these into our pan, get them nice, hot, and crispy with a little bit of seasonings, and then we're gonna put these into our ceviche as well. Another ingredient you can use for this is nori. I actually don't have any nori, so what I'm using is a little bit of capers, kind of give it that fishy flavor. And then obviously your limes. You can use key limes for this. We just have regular limes that I also got from Homeside Fresh. You can check them out in the link below. Local produce delivered straight to your door, fresh, organic, awesome. What we're gonna get started with first is our ceviche. We're gonna get that going. We're gonna get it marinating into the refrigerator. Then we're gonna move on to our green sauce. Then at the very end, we'll make our Lomo Saltado. So let's get started. All right, so we're gonna slice up our hearts of palm. I have 2 cans of hearts of palm here. It all depends on how much you're making. Put it all into a bowl. I'm gonna slice up our cucumber. What you wanna do is you kind of wanna remove the seeds that are in the middle of your cucumber, because that's what's gonna make it super, super watery. We're just gonna kind of cut around the seeds. I mean, if you get some seeds, that's fine, it happens. Cube this up. What you want to do is you actually want to reserve some of the hearts of palm. You're going to put them in a little bowl. You're going to put a little bit of your cucumbers in that same bowl. This is what you're going to use to make the leche de tigre, the tiger's milk, which is what you're going to marinate your ceviche in. You want to use red onions for this. So the trick here is you want to take the middle part of the onion out. If you cut the edges off, then you can actually kind of pop it out a little easier. So then you're just going to really thinly slice your onion with the grain. So you're going to go, essentially you're going to follow the lines of the onion. Pretty thin. Gonna cry. Not gonna cry. I'm gonna take the core of the onion, we're gonna cut half of it, and we're gonna actually reserve this for our leche de tigre. These are pretty small onions, so I'm actually going to do an onion and a half for the recipe. You typically want quite a bit of onion in a ceviche. so now we have our red onions, our cucumbers, and our hearts of palm in here. Add a little bit of lime juice. I have 3 limes here that I'm gonna cut up. So you're gonna need quite a bit of limes for this recipe. Actually toast up our dried hominy or dried corn. I'm just going to use a little bit of vegetable oil. We're using like a wok style pan. We're going to get our oil nice and hot here. Our corn. These are going to pop like popcorn, so you definitely want some type of lid or some type of cover so that they don't go popping everywhere and you don't get oil everywhere. It's really fast. It's just a quick little toss. You don't want your oil or your pan too hot. So I'm gonna add in a little bit of seasonings. I have some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. And it's literally a quick little toss in the pan. These will pop, so you gotta be careful not to hurt yourself here. Use one of these nifty little oil cover things. Give it a little. You could also throw them in the oven, that'll work too. That's good. I like to take a little paper towel just so that it absorbs most of the oil. We're just gonna set them aside and then put the rest of our recipe together. Those suckers popped. Now we're gonna be making our leche de tigre, which is gonna be the marinade that we're gonna put over our vegetables that we just chopped up into our bowl. I have a little bit of those vegetables in this bowl. I have the hearts of palm, the cucumbers, and 2 garlic cloves, as well as we're gonna add the juice of 2 to 3 limes, depending on how big your limes are, or lemons if you don't have limes. We have 1 teaspoon of Aji Amarillo. We have 1 tablespoon and a half of sugar. And then we have a tablespoon of our veganese and a little bit of our capers. I'd say about a tablespoon of capers with the juice of the capers. Of course, salt and pepper. So we're gonna throw this in our blender, blend it up, and pour it over our veggies. About 2 tablespoons of cilantro. To cover this, put a little plastic wrap or wax paper, whatever it is that you have. And we're gonna throw this in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes or so. We're gonna make the rest of our recipes and then we'll put it together at the very end. Okay, so now we're gonna make our ají verde sauce, our green chili sauce. So what I have here is I have a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons of ají amarillo, the yellow chili pepper sauce. I have 2 cloves of garlic, 1 jalapeno. I took the seeds out of the jalapeno so that it's not that spicy. I don't like it too spicy, but I still like a kick. If you like it super spicy, leave the seeds in. 1 bunch of cilantro. Quite a bit of cilantro you're gonna use, probably 1 whole bunch of cilantro. And then about a tablespoon of lemon juice or lime juice. In this case, we're using lime juice. And a 1/4 cup of water, as well as 1/2 cup of veganese. You're gonna put it all into your food processor, give it a good pulse, make sure it's nice, well blended and incorporated, and set it aside. Put it in a mason jar. It stores up to a week in your refrigerator. I put this stuff on everything. Put it on my arm and eat it. I actually added a little bit of this Kite Hill ricotta because the traditional recipe calls for either cotija cheese or some type of like cheese. We obviously don't have cotija cheese, so I used a little bit of this Kite Hill ricotta, which has almost the same consistency. You can omit this, you don't need to do it, but if you do, it's gonna add a little bit more of that like cheesier, creamier flavor to it, which is pretty tasty. You could also use my vegan Parmesan recipe for that, and I'm gonna link it right above so you guys can check that out. Super simple 5-ingredient recipe, takes no time to make. So now that we put it into our mason jar, we're gonna throw this in the refrigerator and we're gonna put together the rest of our ingredients for our Lomo Saltado. We're gonna prepare our rice. This is just a simple rice recipe. You're gonna take long grain rice or basmati rice, whatever you have. Different rices use different water ratio. Check the back of your rice package, but in this case, we're just using regular short grain rice. So this is about 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. We're making 2 cups of rice, so that's gonna be 4 cups of water. So we're gonna slice up our potatoes here into kind of like French fry slices. Want them to all be kind of evenly sized, just so that they cook evenly. This recipe is portioned for about 2 to 3 people. You can obviously scale this up if you want to make more. This is about 3 russet potatoes. You can definitely use more potatoes if you want to make a larger quantity of food. Throw a little paper towel over them just so that they get nice and dry, so then when we throw them into our pan, they get nice and crispy. I'm going to then now slice up our portobello mushrooms. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slice them up lengthwise, so you have a nice little piece of portobello like this. And then I'm just going to cut them in half. And our little knobs, our little ends, I'm just gonna give those a little slices down the middle. So now we're gonna slice up our red bell pepper, just into like little slivers, little slices, as if you were making fajitas. And take a red tomato. It's really honestly just to add flavor. Do it in 4ths or you can do it in 8ths. We did it in 8ths here. Our red onion. This is my favorite part of a saltado, is the onion. Kind of want your onions to be a little bit on the thicker side, not too thin. And these red onions are pretty small, so I'm doing 2 red onions. So I'm going to start up on our pan here. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fry up my potatoes. And we're gonna get those going. And then once our potatoes are going and probably about halfway through, I'm gonna take them out, set them aside. I'm gonna throw in my mushrooms, brown those, and then I'm gonna throw the fries back in and the rest of the ingredients and toss it all together. So we're gonna start off by adding a little bit of vegetable oil into our pan here. I'm using a wok style pan for stir fries. You can use something like this. You can use a regular saucepan, whatever you got. Our fries. Drop these guys in. Generous amount of oil when you're making the French fries. Take a little bit of pepper. Pepper, some salt, a little toss here. These are gonna take a little while to cook up, so we're gonna let these sit and cook for about 5 minutes or so. Create a little bit of steam by adding a lid. I don't have an exact lid for this pan, so I just took whatever lid I had. And we're just gonna kind of place it over and allow that to create some steam, so that'll cook the potatoes down a little quicker. So these fries are about halfway cooked. Put them in this strainer here, lined with paper towels. You could also use like frozen French fries. Frozen fries, like the frozen bags of fries. So now we're gonna get started with our mushrooms. I have a little bit of the crispy bits of the fries still left in the pan. That's perfectly fine. We're just gonna use that to add more flavor. Throw in our mushrooms. These are 4 pretty large portobello mushrooms that we got here. To these mushrooms, I'm gonna add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, our Annie's Worcestershire sauce. That's going to add a little bit more of that beefy flavor that we're looking for. Just so that the oil kind of coats them all. Want your temperature to be at like a medium-high heat. A little toss, a little stir as they start to brown. So to this, I'm gonna add our Worcestershire sauce. I'd say about a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'm gonna grate 2 cloves of garlic right into our mushrooms here. That a toss. Add in our bell peppers, and our onions, our tomatoes. Give that a nice little flip. Of soy sauce. In this case, I'm using Tamarin. It's gluten-free, and it adds a little bit more of that umami flavor than soy sauce does. This is low sodium. Then I have a tablespoon of our Aji Amarillo and a tablespoon of white wine vinegar, or just regular white vinegar. At this point, we're gonna add our soy sauce, our vinegar, and our Aji Amarillo. So toss there. Throw our fries back in. Incorporate everything with our sauce here. Needs a bit more soy sauce. And that's the beauty about cooking. You taste and you see what you're missing. If you need a little bit more spice, if you need a little bit more salt. A little bit of cilantro. Throw that on top. Mix here. Finish our Lomo Saltado just in time. Our rice is ready. And I just took our ceviche out of the refrigerator. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna plate our ceviche, and then we're gonna plate our Lomo Saltado. With our jugo de tigre. Our sweet potatoes there. Crispy corn over here. Choclo. All right, so then we're gonna put our rice into, you can use any kind of mold you want. I'm using this little glass bowl as my mold. I'm gonna put it on the side, so I'm gonna flip this as quickly as I can to the side of the plate. Of our ají, or green ají sauce. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of that on top. That ceviche is delicious. The amount of citrus, that kind of seafood flavor from the capers, and that freshness that you would get in a ceviche. It's delicious. It's a pretty good Lomo Saltado, guys. You're definitely gonna have to try this recipe out and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit subscribe and that bell notification so you can be notified when new videos drop.